Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Diane. It's great to be here.
So when someone's getting into the world of the endometriosis community, it can be a bit overwhelming trying to find answers, trying to find, fact-based answers, and then also support. Because you can feel very alone when you think you might have endometriosis, some of the symptoms, or when you've actually been diagnosed. So I want to understand exactly what MyEndometriosisTeam does and how it originated.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pleasure. MyEndometriosisTeam is a social network for women diagnosed with endometriosis. And we created it because my co-founder and I, because in general, when it comes to chronic conditions that require ongoing care, multiple doctors that one might have to see, the refrain we heard time and time again was, it is hard to not feel like you're reinventing the wheel. Also, it's hard to feel seen. It's hard to feel heard and validated. And we saw this huge opportunity for bringing people who share the same condition, in this case, endometriosis, together, so they feel validated and they can share their perspectives of what's going on. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with all the stories of women who have been discounted when they first started feeling pain. It's like, that's womanhood. Welcome to womanhood. And, at some point you have to think, what's going on in women's health that you're that discounted? So with MyEndometriosisTeam, we have over 115,000 women who are registered members. We started in 2015, and I've just been floored by the spirit of support that everyone's giving each other, but also the opportunities we've had to do a lot with the communities in terms of reflecting back our research and showing them, look, your pain is real. Mm-hmm. And this is how people have gone through that. And yes, there are various treatments. Sure, people have done surgery. What else has been going on? Pain with sex, you deserve to have pleasure with sex. So all these things coming together has really made me proud that we started this.
Yeah, that's incredible. Because as I said in the beginning, when you're first diagnosed, where do you go? Who do you talk to? When I first was diagnosed, I didn't have a single soul that I knew that had endometriosis other than hearing about Lena Dunham. At that point, no one in my family had it to my knowledge. No one was ever diagnosed with it. So I was scrambling online, and that's how I came across to EndoFound. And then I heard about your organization. So to have a support group where people can go and feel heard and seen and understood, it's hugely important when you feel like you're so alone. And also dealing with medical practitioners who might be saying, oh, that's in your head. No, that's not it. And I can speak to that as someone who has it and was told, oh, it's the flu. Oh, it's a hormonal imbalance. And you're like, well, wait a minute. No. So I think it's very empowering to have the endometriosis team that you started. How does one become a member? What's the process?
Well, there isn't a tryout, and you don't need a doctor. So I will say, Diana, it's one of the places where you can go. It's a free social network. You sign up. The assumption is that you do have it. The only currency we accept is trust among all the members, right? Putting yourself forward and being honest and being supportive. So you go to MyEndometriosisTeam.com and you can see for yourself and sign up. Some people discover us through our content. We have various articles that do not require you to sign up. You can learn, of course, there are women who maybe haven't really self-identified with the condition yet. Diana, obviously you have. Yeah. Not everyone's gotten to that place where they've gone through all their stages to acceptance that this is part of their life now. So for those folks who maybe are in the pre-diagnosis stage, are just getting a diagnosis, and our content serves to make them feel more comfortable and also less afraid. Because like you said, when you're first diagnosed with anything, you're on Google, and that can be a scary place. The internet can be a very scary place. It can be alarming. There's a lot of misinformation. And so to be able to go to a place like My Endometriosis Team and find women right away, see women's stories, see their daily posts, because people do use us like a habit. With how they're doing today. I mean, simple question, right? Like I'm not going to get so personal with you, Diana, but whenever I'm talking to my friends with endometriosis and I say, how's the pain today? Right? They get it. They understand what I mean. Or how are you doing today? Doesn't mean like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's much more than that. It's loaded. And on my endometriosis team, women are able to unburden themselves in an unfiltered, unvarnished way, in ways that they tend to protect themselves on other social media like Instagram or TikTok. Like everything's great. I'm dancing. It's fun. This is a community that gets it and understands.
Right. So are there any policies for people to not be abusive, obviously, in the community? Are there any rules, regulations for being a member of the group?
It's not for doctors. Unless you have endometriosis, this isn't a place where doctors are signing up and on the site. This isn't a place where people promote solutions and what have you. We work with various partners and so forth, but honestly, this isn't a place where people just go to self-serve themselves, except in the way to get support. So our rules are really basic. It's this isn't Reddit and this isn't Twitter. I support First Amendment rights, but when it comes to making a safe space for people, there are boundaries, right? They're just common courtesy boundaries. So we have what we call guidelines, and there are people who sometimes come from a forum, and we're not a forum, we're a full-on social network app. Well, people will come and they're so used to having to defend themselves or to speak aggressively or whatever it may be. We have a whole community product management team that will help coach that individual. Also, the community itself serves to set the tone. This is how we talk to each other, right? This is the spirit of support. And also, you're feeling bad today, that's okay too. It's okay to express that. So generally speaking, it's not been this sort of like, definitely don't do this and definitely don't do that. It's like, just imagine you're going to a party and how do you conduct yourself, right? And you want to kind of look around, get to know who's there, and then you just see that the spirit's very giving from everyone, and people aren't pushy or trying to get in your way until you're ready to actually put yourself forward and ask for help or just share.
Is there a moderator on the page? Or?
There are no moderators. We have found, so we have other social networks as well besides my endometriosis team. So with 115,000 members, and the theme that we've been seeing for other chronic condition social networks that we have is moderators can limit conversation. We've seen this on Facebook private pages. We've seen this on forums. We don't need someone moderating or having some sort of status over everyone else. You are enough. And everyone's experience is enough. And this isn't an ouchie contest where someone has more pain than the other. Everyone's there and to share. So we don't have a moderator, but we have 3 ways that we try to help maintain the safe space, if you will. One are the community product managers that I mentioned, and they're sort of there when people click like the help button, or I don't really know how to do this one thing, or something's amiss. There's the community itself. The members of my endometriosis team have features available to them where they can report something that looks inappropriate, or they can ask a question or flag something that doesn't seem right. That actually has been the greatest source of ways for our team to stay on top of things. And then finally, from a development engineering standpoint, right, just talk about technology, we have ways that we're able to see patterns of behavior or certain things like, I'm typing in all caps right now, where we can put a little warning that says, when you type in all caps, you're screaming. So we have those 3 basic things in place, and it's been working quite effectively. And the place where the members themselves write in, we take it seriously, and we also use it as an opportunity to develop our product even more to improve it.
That's great. Obviously, with 115,000 members, you hear or you see a lot of stories and conversations. Has there been any conversations that you've been, and obviously not outing anyone and keeping things confidential, but in terms of a theme, where you have learned something about endo that surprised you, or were emboldened by someone's story, to kind of validate why you're doing all of this in the first place?
On a personal level, I'll tell you, I was visiting some family, and my cousin Chrissy and I were talking, and I was letting her know, I'm doing this interview with an endometriosis surgeon who's incredible. She's like an amazing robot surgeon for endometriosis. I can't wait to do it. I'm just preparing for it. And she says, I have endometriosis. I had no idea she had. I literally just learned about this a few years ago. That one moment of just knowing a family member who all this time had it was validating already, right? Yeah. But then there are the numbers of how many millions of women actually have endometriosis, and that should be enough. So that's the one where it's like, okay, but there are so many other stories. I mean, there are women who we hear from who feel empowered because they've had honest, productive conversations with their gynecologist, because they heard from other members how to approach their gynecologist with their issues, with their challenges, with their pain. And I will say that we also hear from women who are overjoyed because they've had a baby, right? I mean, it's and they didn't think that was possible. And you can understand this, Diana. It's just like that idea of, you're managing so much, but to have that when maybe earlier in life, the doctor might've said, yeah, don't plan on it. Yeah. We hear from women who are just exhausted by the pain, by pain insomnia. And one woman actually had described, this is a little bit more on the other end of the spectrum, where it felt like a chainsaw was going through her uterus. Yeah. And I mean, there are so many impactful stories where it's like, this is why we do this. We do this every day. We want to bring women together so that they know, yeah, that pain's real. It's not in your head. There are other women who are going through it, but also the other stories of women who might be struggling with having children and are seeing a little bit of opportunity and hope, and not writing off a future that somebody else did for them already.
Right. And I think when people have been in your shoes and are at different stages, they can offer different kinds of support and lend different kinds of advice that you otherwise might have not learned of. And I found, for myself, have found that very valuable, having women to talk to, people to talk to that have the disease, who have helped me either get my strength back and belief in myself, because it was waning at times where I just felt so broken and disbelieved and knew something was wrong, but it was like, how much more do I have to fight to feel better? And then also times just having someone say, hey, I was right where you were, and I wasn't crazy. So keep up, and go to this person, talk to this kind of doctor, talk to this kind of expert, which otherwise I don't think I would have without. I mean, they say it takes a village with so many things. And when it comes to having a chronic illness, it really does take a village. Some days you're strong, you're gritty, you're like, I'm like the phoenix. And other days you're like, a little bit of a woe is me. This is tough. Why me? And it's okay to have those waves of emotions. And it's wonderful that my endometriosis team offers, as you call it, a safe space. And I just want to personally thank you for being one of our sponsors for EndoTv, actually our first sponsor, which is so exciting and full circle on my personal journey, because when I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2016 and with infertility, I kept saying for a year, I was like, do I come forward publicly? Don't I come forward with this? Do I want the world to know I'm sick? Do I want people to think I'm not capable of doing my job? Do I want, at the time I was dating, do I want men to know that I might not be able to have a baby and this all be out there? And then I thought, this is miserly not to share my experience, because if it just helps one more person not feel alone with this, then that's what it was all for. So this is really cool to be connected.
I applaud that. I feel so full right now, and really grateful that you shared that here with me too. I mean, it is a personal journey, and for those of us who have that runway to share publicly, I think it goes a long way to shedding the stigma about living with a chronic condition. I'll tell you, it's one thing to have all of our members coming together and sharing, and also the individual stories and everyone really connecting through conversation. We've also tried to increase the validation of women's voices, really raise their voices through our research team. So our research team at MyEndometriosisTeam found that 76% of women with endometriosis agreed that it impacted their social life. You were just talking about dating. 76% felt that endometriosis interferes with their education or their career. And 67% felt that it interferes with starting or raising a family. And 65% stopped or avoided sex due to pain. They go through this whole world of pain and confusion for years before they get diagnosed. But when they hear the voices, but then also we have research that's been, we have posters and validated research, right? Like it's been presented at conferences and everything else. It further validates their voices, and doctors are listening. And I'm really grateful for that.
No, it's really incredible work. And on all of those things that you just mentioned, I've heard that from dozens of people that this has impacted their life on so many levels. And I won't get too personal, but I went on a date once where someone said, "Oh, I Googled you and you have endometriosis." And he's like, "Is that contagious? Can I get that?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, we've got work to do."
Wow.
I was like, thank goodness that we're working so hard to get this into the health curriculum for high schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So was that a check please moment?
Yeah, that was I don't blame you. I blame society for the lack of knowledge out there, but you could have just done this stuff and did a little bit of research.
But you know what? And that brings up another point, which is, that's falling on a lot of women's shoulders to have to educate. And that's what I also like about what our content team's done, which has been recognized for its quality of content, trustworthy content that's medically reviewed, where women can learn the language to better inform those who really are well-intentioned, to family and friends who really are trying to understand and get it. And I definitely recommend, obviously social connection is good and important, and that's not always for everyone, but also information, being armed with information to kind of broach those conversations, to help other people feel a little comfortable. I know that's just like more work, but it also helps kind of feed the cycle for oneself so that there's more understanding within your inner circle as well.
Knowledge is power, and there is a lot of onus on the endo patient to do their research for themselves and a lot of advocacy. But with groups like yours and other organizations that are dedicated to this illness and advocacy and awareness and research, I think we're all collectively working together so that there's just a lot more public information available so that we don't have to consider ourselves not only patients, but also teachers.
One organization that we really adore, that we've worked with since 2015, and we'll be working more formally with, there'll be an announcement soon enough, but you guys are getting sort of like an inside scoop, is the Endometriosis Foundation of America, right? Like our favorite organization. A lot of places, a lot of people, a lot of women go there first when first diagnosed, because there's a lot of great information. And we've been collaborating with them for a while. I did an event covering ages and life stages and ages with endometriosis last summer. And we're just really excited to be working more formally with them, bringing together more of their content, and for them to bring our community for us to be their official social network, starting this, I think I'm learning from the team that I'm allowed to say this to you, Diana. That's great. You're given the record. So it'll be such a great alignment between our organizations. And in general, I think it's important that women understand the ecosystem that works for them. Their ecosystem is their medical provider, their friends and family, but also social networks like MyEndometriosisTeam, EndoTv, for example, and the Endometriosis Foundation of America as well. But to make sure that within your ecosystem, you're getting sound information from trustworthy sources.
Yes. Yes. That is just vital. That is vital in any stage of the journey that you're on with endometriosis or any chronic disease that is related. So thank you, Mary, for all that you've done. I'm very excited to have you as one of our sponsors and to hear the news that you're going to be doing more formal work as the formal social network for Endometriosis Foundation of America. That's awesome.
Well, Diana, it's been such a pleasure talking to you about this news, about my endometriosis team doing this, but also just to share that we exist and that my endometriosis team is a place where women can share their personal perspective and be seen.
Thank you. We'll see you again soon.